Hi everyone, welcome back to the Pro MMA Betting Podcast. Sorry I missed last week. I think that's the first week I've missed since I started doing these videos. So it won't happen again, or if it does, it will be very rare. I've just had a real busy week. So I'm back to do the card for this Saturday. As always, I know I didn't do a video last week, but if we just recap quickly on how members got on. Crap week for pre-bets. We lost 3 units. The Vince Morales decision went against us, which just ruined the night really. I thought we deserved that decision, but he could have made it clearer. He should have applied more pressure. He should have been on the front foot more. He definitely made it closer than it needed to be, bearing in mind that he was fighting in his opponent's backyard. I'm not going to bitch and whine about it. These things happen. We're going to lose decisions throughout the year that we should get. One can only hope that they even themselves out and we get a few that go our way that perhaps shouldn't. So we move on. So 3 unit loss on pre-bets. We did have a winning night on live betting. It was about 1.8 units, so just under 2 units. So overall we lost a unit, just over a unit. If you've been with me since the start of the year and you've tuned in for all the pre-bets and all the live betting tips, if you're betting £100 or $100 per unit, you'd still be up about 8,500. Target was or is 20,000. Slight hump in the road we've hit, so hopefully we can overturn that, but that's going to happen. You have variance in betting. You can't win every week throughout the year. You're going to have your bad weeks. You just need to make sure the good weeks outweigh them, which they have so far. Like I said, we're up 8,500, but I really need to push on now so that we can hit that 20,000 mark. We're going to look at the card for this week. I'm not in love with it for pre-bets. I'm going to have 1 or 2 pre-bets on this card. Pre-bets look like they'll be picking up from next week, UFC 240 onwards. I haven't completed tape on 240 yet, but just looking at the card, I normally get a feel beforehand for what I'm going to be betting and what I'm not going to be betting. Not been in love with it, including last week. 3 cards in a row wasn't in love with for pre-betting. Really unusual for there to be a run of so many cards where I'm not really liking the pre-bets, but yeah, there was 3 in a row where just I think was massively kind of calling me to bet it. But it's going to happen, I guess. But I don't remember ever having 3 cards in a row where I've just not particularly liked anything pre-bet wise. But yeah, hopefully I've only looked at the next 2 cards. They definitely look rosier for me personally in terms of pre-bets, and hopefully that'll continue beyond there as well. So yeah, probably 1 or 2 pre-bets this week. Live betting though, we'll be back. It'll be the 2nd week in a row where we've got boxing first, then the UFC. There's a really big boxing card in the UK. It's a pay-per-view card over here in the UK on Saturday. A lot of heavyweights on the card, so we need to tread carefully. You know how I feel about betting on heavyweights in MMA. Boxing kind of same applies. One punch can just change the whole direction of the fight, so we have to be careful on live betting. But yeah, live betting will be offered. That will kick off probably from 7:30 UK time on Saturday, and then it'll run straight through with the UFC. So we're probably going to have about a 10-hour live betting marathon. So tune in, guys. As I've said many times on here, closest thing to free money I've ever experienced. Easy money to be made. You can check out the memberships on the website prommmabetting.com. You can buy a live betting package, you can buy a pre-betting package, you can buy both combined. Best value is both combined. Live betting's run on Discord. You come in, join the chat room. We've got a great group of people in there now. There's some great camaraderie, good bit of banter going on. Just have fun throughout the evening, making money basically. All my bet slips I post on Twitter. So for pre-bets and live bets even, you can see that I am betting what I'm tipping. Also like to post the bet slips for pre-bets to verify that we are the world's largest MMA tipster in terms of the amount that we stake. We use £1,000 per unit, and bet slips are posted to prove that to you. I don't see anyone else backing up their bets with bet slips. I personally would find it difficult to follow someone that's offering a paid service. if they're not posting bet slips, when they might just be betting, you know, £1. Where's the proof that they've built a bankroll? You know, it's £1 per unit, £5 per unit, £10 per unit. If you're paying someone for a service and that's all they're personally betting, you know, why haven't they built a big bankroll? So yeah, it does call things into question for me. So I do like to show that I've built a very healthy bankroll through MMA betting and post the bet slips to prove so. Give me a follow on Twitter, guys, at prommabetting.com. As I said, the website is prommabetting.com for the packages that we offer. You can go onto the website, clearly see what packages are available. And if you can hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel, that will be much appreciated. But if we go in now, we'll break down the card for this Saturday from bottom to top. First fight, we've got Domingo Pilate making his UFC debut, taking on Felipe Caceres. Pilate, you may have seen him on the Dana White Contender Series. It was his last fight, literally a year ago. Beat Vince Morales. Started the fight really, really brightly. Had Morales in all sorts of trouble. Morales staged a comeback towards the end of round 1. I remember this fight clearly because I bet Morales. Morales came back, looked like he was going to win. He cut Pilate in a really awkward place. I think it was it just above his eye or it was on his eyelid? Really nasty cut. You could see it was bothering Pilate pretty badly. He was in trouble at the end of round 1, but came out round 2, hit a nice takedown and got a submission on Vince. So impressive victory from how he started well, looked really good on the feet, from overcoming adversity when he was in trouble. You know, kind of in big trouble on the verge of being stopped, and then coming back and getting the submission win. And Vince Morales is a solid fighter. As I touched on earlier, I actually betted him weekend just gone. Feel we should have got that decision. He gave Song a reasonably competitive fight as well. You know, he's a good fighter. So that was a really impressive win for Domingo. If you go back, I did watch Domingo's fight in March 2017, his fight before the Morales fight against Adrian Yanez, and kind of looked a lot different in that fight. He was a bit more tentative on the feet, he was going for takedowns more. He did slow down in that fight as well. He won the first 2 rounds, I felt. It was more pot shotting on the feet as opposed to the Morales fight where he kind of stepped in and let his hands and legs go more, and he was hitting takedowns, showed good takedowns against Yanez, albeit top control wasn't great, but he did slow down, lost round 3, but he got a split decision win there. But Adrian Yanez is a decent fighter, so it's a decent win for him. And then he got the win over Vince Morales. Before Yanez's fight, it was September 2016, he got a very quick KO win in 38 seconds. I didn't go back to October 2015, which was his fight before the Chris Farm fight. It's 4 years ago. He's clearly evolved as a fighter. You can see that from watching the Adrian Yanez fight to the Vince Morales fight, and there was about 15 months between those 2 fights. He's clearly improved. He's huge for bantamweight, 6 foot, very rangy. Does bode the question, how does his cardio hold up over 15 minutes? Because he's a giant for 135. Since the days of George Roop, I can't remember someone as big as Pilate fighting at bantamweight. But the Morales performance was very impressive, and I like that he overcame adversity in that fight as well. He's been out a year again. Seems to fight once a year, but he's been out. He tore his ACL, so kind of slight concern coming back from the ACL injury. But I'm not going to let that factor into how I think this fight's going to play out. I don't play doctor. I've tried it in the past, and it never works out. I'm going to assume we're going to get an even better Pilate than we saw against Vince Morales. And he's 29 now as well, so it's kind of now or never. It's getting, towards that age for a bantamweight fighter where he needs to make a run, because he will start to regress physically probably in the next 4 or 5 years, just based on where he is a lighter weight fighter. He's taken on Felipe Caceres from Brazil. Caceres made his UFC debut on short notice back in February against Gerardo Freitas. I wasn't impressed. I mean, it was short notice, fair enough, but I mean, even round 1, just the guy. I mean, he seems fairly gritty, but Not really sure he's UFC caliber. I think this is a potential showcase fight for Pilate. Like I said, Pilate needs to be careful regarding his cardio. Doesn't want to start slowing down and have this guy come on strong towards the end. But I think Pilate will have his way with him. He's got a huge size advantage over him. About 3 inches in height, 5-inch reach advantage. And I mean, the guy outside of De Freitas, who was completely unknown coming into that matchup, I mean, he's fought no one. If you look at his record on the Brazilian circuit, he's fought regional level guys. So this is another step up in competition. So I expect Pilate to come away with a victory here. Caceres hasn't been stopped, but Pilate's got power on the feet. He's got a decent submission game. I think Caceres is a black belt, but this is MMA. This isn't Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I don't see any reason why Pilate couldn't get a KO or a submission win here. I'll go with a decision just because Caceres hasn't been stopped. But if Pilate's made kind of the same jumps he made from the Yanez fight to the Morales fight here, then it could be over very quickly. But I'm pretty confident that Pilate is going to come away with the victory here in his UFC debut. We've got Mario Batista from the MMA lab taking on Jinsu Son, who you all may recall from that war he had with, well, I wouldn't say it was a war, it was pretty one-sided in Peter Yan's favour, but from how he just ate everything, kept smiling and coming forward. I think this is a pretty competitive fight. Jinsu Son, if you watch his fight before his UFC debut, it was a very low volume fight. You could even say he was probably losing until he caught the guy in the second round with a big right hand. Seems fairly limited with his stand-up. Now he is young, he could be making improvements. He's done some training in the US. I see him over at Justin Gaethje's gym at one point, but seemed like he wasn't over here for too long, or over in the States for too long. He's been back in his hometown. I can't remember where he's from. Is he Korean? For most of his camp. But yeah, he's obviously really tough. He can take a shot. Yeah, he's pretty low volume now. Peter Yan was in his face, bringing the fight to him. So, how much do we take away from the Yan fight? Because he did lose decisively. He showed great toughness. But I don't want to rate someone just based on their toughness. What skills does he bring to the table as well? And I'm not really sure. He's got a nice, reactive, explosive double leg that he can hit. He hit that on Yan a couple of times. That was very nice. He's got power on the feet. But he's a young guy, so he is improving, but he's got a couple of potentially dodgy losses on his record when you look. Kind of regional Asian fighters that have beaten him, albeit a while ago. I'm sure he's improved. And the fight before his UFC debut, like I said, he wasn't looking great in that fight. So I don't want to overrate Son here, just based off of a decent performance against Peter Yan, where it was pretty one-sided. Mario Batista, kind of a hard guy to get a gauge on as well. Took his UFC debut on very short notice against a formidable opponent in Corey Sandhagen. Got beaten pretty decisively in round 1. I did find his fight before that in, I think it was LFA, where he won a 3-round decision. I mean, nothing overly impressed me. He seems like a gritty kind of guy, get in your face. He did get wobbled in that fight as well by a overhand, but the guy he fought was a kind of thick, stocky Bantamweight fighter. Probably possesses quite a bit of power when he lands clean, and he did wobble Batista in the first round, but Batista did win that fight fairly comfortably. He's kind of a typical MMA lab guy, he's kind of well-rounded, doesn't excel anywhere, he's got good cardio, he's gritty. So this is an interesting fight for me. I don't have a full read on either guy yet. Like I said, I'm very careful here with Son. I don't want to be overrating him, coming off a loss and a pretty one-sided fight. I can't rate someone just because they survived and they're tough. I think he's minus 200 Son, which I can't get behind. So I don't think he's going to look like a minus 200 favourite here. I think it's going to be a competitive fight. Personally, if I was betting this fight, I'd probably be inclined to look at fight goes to decision minus 180, or a small stab on Mario Batista at plus 175. I think this should be lined closer to a pick'em. You know, if Batista went the distance with Corey Sandhagen in a one-sided fight, you know, where would this fight be lined then? You know, I don't know. And I'd say Sandhagen's probably a better finisher than Peter Yan as well. But he is a better finisher than Peter Yan. So yeah, I definitely think this should be lined closer. But fight goes the distance minus 180. I'd prefer that to betting Son. But if you want to have a small stab, like I said, plus 175 on Mario Batista, I think there's some value there because I think it should be a pick'em. I'm not confident he's going to win, but I'd be surprised if this isn't a competitive fight. Like I said, Son looks like he has problems with his volume. It's like he relies on finding kind of the perfect shot, and he's one of them that could be frustrating to bet on because he doesn't mind getting hit and he smiles back, and it's like if you've bet on him, it's like, well, it's alright eating the punch and smiling back at the guy, but you're losing on points here. So it could be very frustrating if you bet him. So I don't trust him here at minus 200, and I need to see another fight from him against someone on his level, which Batista is, just to see whether that volume's improved. Has he picked his game up now he's in the UFC? Has he improved? He's young, he's 25. You know, over the last 12 to 18 months, is there improvement? Because you do see that from these young guys. They make such rapid jumps very quickly. Well, they can. It isn't always the case. So you have to be careful fading them when you haven't got a full read on them, especially when they haven't been in the UFC. So I'm going to say Batista to win a very competitive decision, but it's not a confident pick. As I always say, this is a betting podcast. I'm going to go where I think the value with the line is, and I think the value is with Batista. So Batista decision for me. Next, we've got Ray Borg taking on Gabriel Silva. So Ray Borg's coming off that loss to Casey Kenny. Very competitive fight. I was so close to betting Casey Kenny. I really regret not betting him. I think I picked him to win on the podcast. Did I pick him to win? I must have done if I was. Not unless it was one I'd done early in the week and then I changed my mind as the week went on. Because yeah, Kenny did really impress me on tape. I was impressed by him. But Ray could have got that decision. I thought he was going to get the decision. I haven't re-watched it to decide if it was a robbery or not. But I was expecting him to get the nod. But the problem with Ray Borg is he should be at flyweight at 125. He's not a 135er. His stand-up, I mean, it has improved, but it's still not a particularly strong suit for him. He's basically a wrestler, stroke grinder, and it's very hard when you step up the levels at these lower weight classes to win fights that way because guys are very scrambly. It's hard to hold them down at the lower weight classes. So you've got to kind of rinse and repeat. And ball dressing is decent, don't get me wrong, but he's not a great wrestler either by any means. And he is giving up physical disadvantages because he should be down at flyweight. He's got another guy similar to Casey Kenny, a little bit unknown, making his UFC debut. This is Eric Silva's brother. There isn't a great deal of tape on him. I have actually found his last fight, but I haven't watched it yet. So I will watch that today. But it's a quick knockout in 1 minute, so it's probably not going to tell us a lot anyway. But I will have a watch of that today. I did go back and watch his previous fight, which is from 2 years ago. So he was like 22, he's 24 now. So who knows what improvements he's made in the last 2 years. He could have made substantial improvements, but the fight from 2 years ago against a solid European guy, he looked pretty solid in it. Totally dominated the guy. For a 22-year-old fighting overseas, pretty impressive performance, to be honest. Totally dominated the guy. Can't really ask more than that from him. We're 2 years further on. As I said, he was very young. You can only assume that he's made some jumps since then. So this could be a tough fight for Ray Borg. I've read as well, someone told me that, I don't know how true this is, because Silva's only got a 1 or 2 inch height advantage, but Silva's got a 9 inch reach advantage. I need to look into that to check if that's the case, but man, if that's the case, that is absolutely massive. I can't see how it can be that big though when they're at bantamweight, and Silva isn't a tall guy, but he's definitely the bigger guy physically. He's fought up at 145. Look on his Instagram, he looks pretty thick. He's a big guy for the weight class. Definitely going to be bigger than Borg, so again, Borg's physical disadvantages, they could come into play here. So I was thinking before tape that Ray looks like a bet here, and the line's dropped. He's down at -225 now. I'm going a bit blind here because we haven't seen Gabriel up at this level. We haven't really seen him in 2 years because his last fight was over very quickly. So for all intents and purposes, we haven't seen his full game for 2 years. But he looks solid, like I said, albeit against a much lower level than Ray Borg. But Ray's had a lot of problems away from the octagon. I'm hoping his little boy's all right now, but I just don't know where his head's at. How seriously is he taking training? I think Ray Borg, I just can't pick him at that price though, and like I say, I have to go with where I think there's value, and I could be wrong here. Borg could come out and dominate because I'm making a lot of assumptions here, but I've just got a feeling Gabriel Silva is going to be pretty legit and tough to deal with. And Ray's one-dimensional style is up at 135. It's going to be even tougher for it to work for him. So I'm gonna go Silva here to win in a very competitive split decision type fight. I hope Ray wins. I want him to get back in the win column. He's had a lot of problems away from the octagon. Like I said, I'd like to see him get a win here. Controversial loss last fight as well. But yeah, I have to go with the value. I probably do lean Ray Borg, but you can get, if you're a bettor, you can get, some books are offering plus 2-1 plus 200. So if I was betting this, I'd take a stab at Gabriel Silva, I think. So I'll go Gabriel Silva. I could be completely off, as I've said. It's a lot of assumptions being made, but with Ray's limited skill set, Gabriel looking good previously and being very young, I think he's improved. He's a big guy. I'll go with Silva to win a very close decision. I think the value is with him if you're looking to bet it. Fight goes the distance, in fact. Where are we at on that? That's -210. No. Yeah, I'd stick with, personally, I'd stab at Silva for me. Quickly going to cover Jennifer Maia, Roxanne, Modafferi. I don't really think there's any value at the current line, guys. I think it's a 50-50. Roxy is plus 115. So if I'm saying it's 50-50, there's a slight bit of value on Roxy, but still not enough for me to bet her. They did fight 3 years ago. 5-round fight. Roxy got 1 takedown across the 5 rounds, so that doesn't fill me with confidence. People are saying her wrestling's improved since, she's gotten stronger. Actually, I don't know. I don't want to read too much into the Shevchenko fight. Shevchenko has no takedown defense. Roxy doesn't hit 5 out of 6 takedowns on anyone, so I don't know if I want to jump on that narrative that it's improved. Roxy is 36 as well. Her physical decline is imminent, one would think. She's had a lot of fights as well, been around a long time. But she's looked decent lately. She's very scrappy. She's a good grappler. If she does get you down, it is tough to get back up. She basically needs to win 2 or 3 rounds here through a takedown each of the 2 rounds. So she needs 2 takedowns probably to win this fight. I just don't trust Jennifer Maia enough to bet her, because it wouldn't shock me if Roxy does get those takedowns, and Jennifer isn't great off of her back. She is a bit of a beached whale when she gets put on her back. She isn't going to get back up. It's very unlikely. I think in their first fight she did actually reverse Roxy from the bottom, but I definitely don't want to be betting her, relying on her hitting sweeps or some sort of reversal on Roxy. She's the better striker, is Jennifer Maia. A good performance last fight against Alexis Davis. So I'm going to pick Maia here to win a decision, but I just personally don't think there's any value on the current line. I definitely don't feel there's value on Maia at -135. I think it's a 50-50. So I'd need a plus number on either. As I said, Roxy is plus 115, but it's very minimal value when I'm calling it a 50-50. So it's a pass fight for me. I pretty confident this goes to a decision. It's minus 300, which, I mean, it is steep. Any fight that goes to decision in MMA, minus 300 is steep, but we've seen women's fights way worse priced than that. So if you are looking for a double of some description, I don't think that's a bad leg. I wouldn't go massive on it, because freaky things happen in MMA, even women's MMA, but I think that definitely hits the cards more often than not. Minus 300, probably set about right, but if you want to have a small double, maybe as we work through the card we'll find something to potentially play it with. But yeah, I think that's the only potential bet I'd be interested in if I can find something else to play it with. But I'll go Maia a close competitive decision, but I think it's a 50-50 fight. I don't see any value on the betting lines currently, personally. Right, I've got to admit, guys, I haven't taped the next fight. Klidson Abreu taking on Sam Alvey, just because he's a tough guy to get around. He always gets matched, or pretty much gets matched with people that are kind of making their UFC debut, or they're lower level guys. I've never feel I get the chance to fade him in a fight that I'm entirely confident in. He always seems to get winnable fights generally, to Sam. So he's got another one here where stylistically he does have a path to victory. I'm not sure if Sam is on a bit of a regression though. He's coming off 2 knockout losses. Jim Crute put him away. Lil Nog, who is ancient, put him away the fight before that. He'd always been very durable, Sam Alvey, but he has moved up to light heavyweight, so he's getting hit by bigger guys now, so maybe that's part of it. But up until his last 2 fights, he'd only ever been KO'd once, and that was against Derek Brunson, and Derek that was stopped on the feet. He was, could you argue it was an early stoppage? I don't know. He was definitely hurt, but he was still standing, but he's been put down the last 2 fights, so I think that chin is starting to probably crack a little bit, and he's getting hit by bigger guys now. He's up at light heavyweight. You just can't trust him. He's got no volume on the feet. He's always relied on that toughness, but like I said, that is possibly going now. But he does crack, Sam. He's got real big power. You wouldn't think it from looking at him, but the guy can crack. He's taking on Klidson Abreu here, who's a very solid grappler. I did tape on him before his UFC debut against Ankalev. He's very, very opportunistic. If he gets you to the mat, he can lace up submissions very quickly. He's not got the best stand-up. Sam should win the stand-up, but I say should because it's just his volume's just a nightmare. It's just really hard to trust, and if he doesn't crack him and knock Klidson out, you could easily see him losing a decision on the feet. Not that Klidson's got particularly good stand-up, but it's just the way Sam fights. But he's very, very opportunistic on the mat, very good submissions. Can he get Sam Alvey down? Sam's always had really solid takedown defence. Everyone's struggled to get him down to the mat. I don't think Klidson's going to have much joy either. I see it being on the feet, this fight. Probably lean Sam, but it's not a confident bet at all. Let's have a look at what the odds are. Sam's currently sitting at... He's actually the underdog, plus 145. For some reason I thought Sam was going to be a small favourite, but I guess coming off back-to-back KOs, that does that to the line. I think there's a bit of value on Sam, to be honest. I definitely wouldn't go big because it's Sam Alvey, but stylistically he's got a winnable fight here because he can win this on the feet. He's tough to take down. He has to be careful he's not taken down. As I said, Klidson is very opportunistic. But part of Sam being tough to take down as well is just because he doesn't commit to his shots. Just never gets aggressive. That reactive takedowns just aren't there against him. You've pretty much got to take him down against the fence, which means you've got to chain your takedown attempts, and you need to be a pretty high caliber wrestler to start chaining wrestling and takedown attempts, and Klidson isn't that. So I'm going to pick Sam here. I am going to pick him. And what's inside the distance? Plus 300. Has Klidson ever been stopped? It's been KO'd twice. Interesting. 2 round 3 losses a while ago, 2016 and 2014. I think there's a little bit of value on Sam there, plus 145. I thought he was going to be. I mean, I've looked at the odds all week, but that fight I just haven't paid any attention to. But I definitely, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't go, like I said, don't go big because it's Sam Alvey. But I see value there at plus 145, and even a little stab at, I don't really play props, but plus 300 inside the distance, worth a tiny little stab as well, I think. So, yeah, I think Sam Alvey. Klidson's only 26, so could be improving. I mean, I can't really recall what his stand-up's like either. Has he got a high volume approach? Because he's not going to be worried about getting taken down by Sam, obviously. But having said that, he will be wary, I would have thought, of Sam Alvey's power. So I don't think he's going to come in being too reckless. Sam's just such a hard guy to trust. Valenti. See, I thought Valenti won that fight as well. I remember I live betted Valenti and I was very confident he was going to get that decision. Yeah, you can't go big, guys. Definitely don't go big, because it's going to be. I mean, even if Alvey gets the fight he wants, it's on the feet for 3 rounds. If he doesn't put him away, it's going to be close just because of his volume. But I'll go with Alvey because I think there's a little bit of value on the odds. I think maybe it should be a pick'em. Maybe there's a bit of recency bias with Alvey coming off back-to-back KOs. So I'll go Alvey in a close decision, not confident, and I'm personally not betting it myself. But if you're one of these people that likes to bet every fight, then take a small stab at Alvey, I think. But I'm not confident, so don't come crying to me if he fucks up. But we'll go with Alvey to win a close decision. Next fight is Irene Aldana taking on Raquel Pennington. I just have serious trust issues with Irene Aldana. I did bet her in her last fight against Betchko Hair Small. I think I'd done a grand, which is like a unit for me. And to be honest, I kind of got talked into it, and I can't remember if I live betted out. I think I tried to live bet out during round 2. I mean, it turned out Aldana was actually 2 rounds up on the judges' scorecards in Brazil, which seems pretty surprising. I did go back and rewatch it. I wasn't scoring it. When I'm capping, it's really hard for me to judge fights because I'm trying to watch one fighter in particular. I can't score the fights when they're close when I'm capping. But I mean, Bettors was definitely landing some decent shots on Aldana. I mean, to be fair to Bet, she gets a raw card from everyone, but she is pretty awkward. I mean, you look at her record, and even in her losses, except for the Ronda Rousey fight, all of her fights are pretty close. I mean, even the Holly Holm fight where she got knocked out in round 3, there's an argument that she was 2 rounds up. She's better than people give her credit for, and she seems to be awkward because no one seems to kind of win easily. Like Raquel Pennington fought her, and it was a close fight. So. But yeah, Irene Aldana just gives me trust issues. She looked shit in her UFC debut against Leslie Smith, got absolutely wrecked. Okay, UFC debut, let her off. I mean, Caitlin Chikagan, she lost, but to be fair, I thought she won that fight. Then she's coming off Talita Bernardo fight. She won a straightforward decision, but there was pockets in that fight where it was just like, she ended up on her back, and I remember Talita actually landed a few big shots in her at one point. She had the Padilova fight really close. Betch fight, she pulled off the nice submission, and she was 2 rounds up. But I mean, I know a lot of guys who were on Aldana in that fight, and it was very sweaty going into round 3. And luckily, well, she was winning anyway, as it turned out. But Betch shot for that takedown. I think, did she get caught with a big shot, made her shoot, and she ended up getting armbarred. But I mean, Irene's someone that she's got great physical attributes. She's got power for a woman. She's got nice boxing. I just feel like there's something missing. Like she hasn't put it all together yet. And I can't put my finger on it. but I just feel like there's something not clicking. She definitely doesn't like pressure. She likes to be the bully in there. Raquel Pennington, it's hard to know where Raquel's at. She's had some injuries. She's not the most athletic girl. People were saying she's looked crap her last couple of fights, which, I mean, she hasn't looked great, but look who she's fought. Amanda Nunes and Jermaine Durandamy. I mean, no one, bar one or two, is going to look good against them in the women's division. They're two of the best strikers, or they are the two best strikers in the division. So, you know, are we being a bit hard on Raquel? This is a tough fight. I know some people are confident in Aldana here, but she just doesn't fill me with confidence at all. I think she's one that can shit the bed easily. Betting line reflects that. She's a minus 140 favourite. It's come down a little bit. I saw her up at minus 160. But where's Raquel at? Can Raquel push forward enough? Look, I think this is going to be a close fight. Irene Aldana doesn't go out and dominate fights. I can't see her winning a comfortable decision here. For me, it's a pass fight, but I don't know if there's even any value on Pennington plus 120. It's not like a big dog number. I think it's just a pass, guys. Goes the distance is minus 295. I think it's gonna go the distance, and like I said, I think the other women's fight is gonna go the distance as well. There's not great value on a double though. I mean, it'll pay about, if you put $100 down, say, you'd probably get about $70 profit, and it's not a great return, and you've got to sweat 2 fights going 15 minutes. But yeah, it's a pass fight for me. I just don't trust Irene Aldana. Maybe something will click, and we'll see that here. Raquel maybe has diminished substantially, but look at who she's fought last 2 fights. I think some people are reading too much into that. She's had 2 very tough fights. She's got a path to victory here if she pushes forward. She's going to have to eat a few, but if she pushes forward and gets aggressive, Aldana doesn't like it. And following the pattern of non-trustworthy fighters, we've got Alex Caceres next, taking on Stephen Peterson. Look, Alex has decent stand-up, but he's just so untrustworthy. He's got a 14-12 record for a reason, guys. He loses fights. I don't care if you try and argue who they were against. I mean, he nearly fucked up the Bravo fight after being dominant in that. He's got no takedown defence. It's never going to be good. He's 31 now. He'll be reaching he'll be declining soon. He's a bantamweight fighter, 31 years of age. Might have a couple more years left in him physically, but there will be a regression soon, especially with his style. He kind of tries to be loose and quick on the feet. Reflexes are relied on. You know, that's all going to fade as he gets older, and he's getting up there in age for a bantamweight now, or featherweight even. Stephen Peterson, look, the guy isn't great. He's a punching bag, but he's tough. He's aggressive. He'll move forward. He'll keep coming. He'll keep coming, and he'll keep coming. Caceres, actually, a bit of money started to come in on Peterson. Caceres is minus 140 now. Last time I looked, I think he was minus 160. But there's no way I can bet Alex Caceres as a favourite. No chance. He's got no ground game either. Just a completely untrustworthy guy. He's never evolved. He never seems to have improved. He's at the MMA lab, but I mean, John Crouch must be really frustrated with him. I'm going to go with Peterson here to win a decision. I think he's just going to eventually get to Caceres, just make it a really frustrating fight, implement his game plan, implement his will, and yeah, just leave. If you've bet Alex Caceres, just going to leave you thinking, why the fuck have I done that? So I'll go with Peterson. He's plus 120. I wouldn't go big because Peterson isn't good, but you know what he's going to do. He's going to fight for your money. He's tough. He's relentless. Why not Stephen Peterson? It's Alex Caceres, 14-12. He's got that record for a reason. So I'll go with Peterson here to win a. Yeah, Caceres might win round 1, but I think he's going to take over as the fight goes on. So I'll go with Peterson. Oh God, 3 in a row, untrustworthy. Men's heavyweight, Arlovski, Ben Rothwell. Was hoping to bet Ben here pre-tape, but I went into tape and it just reminded me how much of a plodder Ben Rothwell is. It's an easy path. Well, I say an easy path to beating him. Heavyweight fighters aren't really fleet-footed. We saw against Junior Dos Santos that I remember betting Junior Dos Santos' decision in that fight because I thought he would just hit and run the whole fight, and applied it beautifully. Got a real comfortable decision win. Ben, he's had 3 years out. He came back and fought Blagoy Ivanov. I thought he looked alright in that fight. I actually live betted Ben, and I felt badly burnt by the judges. I thought he won that decision. But Blagoy's a bit different to Arlovski in his style. He's happy to kind of stand there and trade with you, rely on his chin a bit. So it allowed Ben to get his shots off. Arlovski's going to try and be a bit more elusive. Arlovski's changed his style up completely, which it's helped him in the sense that he doesn't get knocked out anymore. I mean, the last time he was KO'd was Francis Ngannou and Alistair Overeem. But we're going back kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's had like 7 fights where he's not been knocked out, which is pretty good for Arlovski when you bear in mind he's been stopped 10 times in his career. He's changed his style. He's not as aggressive as he used to be. He's done that to protect his chin, but it's come at a cost because he was so successful because he was an aggressive fighter. He had power. He tends to fight more off the back foot now, so it's taken his power away. He's just not the same attacking dynamo that he was because he's trying to stop himself being knocked out. There's potential here that he's got the footwork to win a decision over Ben, because Ben is a plodder. Ben's going to be following him around. He's a plodder, doesn't have footwork. You can outmaneuver him if you've got that footwork, but I just think Ben's going to get to him. He does hit hard. He's got granite chin, Ben. He's got 4 KO losses on his record, but the guy is tough to put down. So I have to go with Ben here. But yeah, he's basically minus 200, and then after tape with the ploddiness, I could be sitting there just absolutely sweating buckets because he's not managing to trap Arlovski, and Arlovski's hitting and moving. I can see how Arlovski can win this fight. And yeah, just with Ben's style, it's just hard to bet him at minus 200 when I know he's going to be plodding around the cage. But I do think I think he probably wins a decision even if he doesn't stop Arlovski. I think he'll just land the bigger shots. They're going to catch the judge's eyes more so than what Arlovski's going to be landing. But if the line comes down a bit, I'd be tempted. But it's held all week, or since it's been out, it's basically not moved. So obviously no one's chomping at the bit to bet Arlovski or Ben here. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get the movement I want. Maybe minus 150 I'd consider Ben, but at the minute it's a pass for me. But I will pick Ben to win this fight. I don't think there's any value on either line, particularly at the moment. Next we go to the men's lightweight division. This is easily the best fight of the card so far. Alex Hernandez taking on Francisco Trinaldo. So Trinaldo, venturing out of Brazil, he's had 17 fights in the UFC. This will be his 18th fight in the UFC, and his 5th fight out of Brazil. He's 2-2 fighting out of Brazil, so he's been pretty fortunate in that pretty much all his UFC career he's been able to fight in his home country. Trinaldo, very solid striker, southpaw. He's got a good body kick, nice overhand, left overhand. He's got some power in it. Very well rounded. He's got solid takedown defence. Seems to have improved in his UFC run. Kevin Lee fight, the most recent example of how it has improved. Very physically strong guy. Real beast. He's coming off a win over Evan Dunham back in September. Timed a lovely step-in knee on Dunham, who actually retired after that fight. So yeah, well-rounded guy, dangerous on the feet, southpaw, not easy to take down. cons for Trinaldo, in my opinion, are we haven't seen him for, it's almost a year. Last fought in September, it's now July, so it's been like 10 months. He's 41 next month, so has he regressed in that past year? He's nearly 41. I've been saying it for a long time with Trinaldo that there's going to be a fight where physical regression kicks in, and it hasn't happened yet. I mean, Evan Dunham was landing some shots on him. Not saying that I think he looked like he'd regressed, but Evan Dunham was landing some shots on him. But it's going to be a point where, I mean, if his age is correct, and I think it is because he doesn't look the youngest guy, he's a lightweight, there's no way physical regression is not going to kick in at that age. You know, it has to. Just physiologically, it has to happen. So is it going to happen here? Potentially could be shown up here. This is Hernandez has the type of style that will, if it goes to 3 rounds, he's got that style where it will show up any deficiencies. I'd also like to point out with Trinaldo, now I'm not taking anything away from him, I think he's a solid fighter. He's had a pretty good UFC run. I mean, if you look at the 17 fights he's had in the UFC, you couldn't really ask for a better run. He's not really fought. I mean, he fought Klidson Tebow in his UFC debut. Okay, baptism of fire. But even then, Tebow's not really, you know, he's not really a guy that's going to hurt you. It's just, you know, he's a bit of a grinder. He's a tough fight for a lot of people stylistically, but not the kind of fight where you're going to come in and get hurt. And then he just had a run of just, you know, decent fights. He lost to Hallman. I mean, Caceres he lost to. But, I mean, you look at his run in the UFC and 17 fights. I mean, his best fighters he's fought are James Vick, Kevin Lee, and Paul Felder and Caceres. They're his best opponents, I'd say. And he's lost 3 of them. Lost 3 of them 4 fights. If you look at who he's lost to as well in his UFC run, Klidson Tebow, Hallman, Caceres, Kevin Lee, Vick, but Vick doesn't apply to what I'm saying here. There's 4 losses there to guys that are kind of grindy kind of fighters. You look at the guys he's beat, hasn't beaten any grindy type fighters except for Norman Park, and there's a very strong argument that Norman Park won that fight. I didn't go back and watch the whole fight because it boils down to round 1, but I can't remember who I was capping before, Trinaldo or Park, but I remember thinking Park won that fight. But for this fight, I just skimmed through. I just wanted to see the takedowns and takedown attempts and get-ups. So I didn't watch the whole first round, so I don't know. But I remember thinking that Park should have won. And either way, whether Trinaldo, it was a very, very close fight. And Park's another grinder. So there's a clear pattern here that Trinaldo struggles with guys that are going to try and grapple him. Now, he looked very good against Kevin Lee. His takedown defence looked improved. He looked really powerful. But it's nearly 2.5 years ago, that fight. And like I said, he's 41 next month. There has to be a point where this physical regression kicks in. But that aside, stylistically, he's struggled in them types of fights. And Aleksei Hernandez is, I mean, yeah, he's a bit raw. But he's only 26, you know, he's 15 years younger. He's only had 12 fights. He's got time to round out his game. He brings an extremely high pace. He's got decent wrestling. It's not the best. He's not a Kevin Lee type wrestler, but he sets a pace that Kevin Lee can't set. Very, very high paced. His stand up is, I think it's a work in progress, but you know, he's not terrible on the feet. He's got a bit of power, but it's the pace and pressure that he brings. It's just a tough style to deal with for most people. That kind of Colby Covington type approach. Now, I'm not saying he's on Colby's level. He's not. but it's the kind of style he brings, and it's just a hard style to deal with for people. You know, you've got the other lightweight, I can't remember his name, the guy that came back from the drug addiction, who's got that kind of style. It's just a tough style to deal with for a lot of fighters. You know, he made that explosive debut against Dariush, quick knockout. Then he beat Olivier Aubin-Mercier, just grinded him out, just wore him down. Shoka grappling on the floor. And then the Donald Cerrone fight was I picked Cerrone in that fight. I thought stylistically it was a tough fight, a big ask for him, and Donald's just too good standing. Trinaldo isn't as good on the feet as Cerrone. He's not got as many weapons, as many tools. I personally think Hernandez is going to grind Trinaldo down here and win a decision. Round one's probably going to be competitive, it's probably going to be close, but I just think if Hernandez sticks to his guns, just keeps applying the pressure, keeps going for takedowns, keeps wearing on Trinaldo, I think he can grind him out here. Trinaldo, I think his power's overrated as well. He's got one knockout with his hands in the UFC, and that was against Chad Laprise, who's really chinny. He did time a really nice stepping knee against Evan Dunham, which is where Hernandez struggled with Cerrone, but I don't think his stepping knees are on the level of... Well, they're not on the level of Cerrone. Cerrone's interception knees are best I've seen ever in MMA. So yeah, I think this is a tough fight for Trinaldo. He's a dog, he's a tough guy. You know, I understand why people like him as the dog here, because he's the kind of guy that's going to fight for your money. But I just think stylistically he's got a tough fight. You look historically who he's struggled with. It's Alex Hernandez type fighters, and Alex is, you know, very self-confident, and he's coming off a loss here, so he's going to want to prove himself here. So my pick is Hernandez to win a decision. He's minus 185 now. Yeah, I mean, it's getting on for minus 200 now, which I think is a little bit high, but like I said, I think stylistically it's a good fight for Hernandez. We've got Dan Hooker, James Vick next. I'll be honest, guys, I did tape on this. I was hoping to like Hooker, but I don't have a great read on the fight, being completely honest with you. There's some fighters that I struggle to get a read on, and I'll always be honest with you. If I find a certain fighter is one I struggle to get a read on, and James Vick's always one that I've struggled to get a read on. I bet Dariush against him, which managed to cash, but I bet Paul Felder to beat him last fight, and I was really confident in that. And I bet Vick to beat Felder last fight, and I was very confident in that pick, and didn't happen. I just struggled to get a read on him. I don't trust him either, because he's definitely chinny. I think that weight cut depletes him a hell of a lot. Dan Hooker, he's hittable, but he's got some power, but he's coming off a beatdown. Now, I thought the beatdown to Barboza was to the body, and it was, but he also took a lot of head trauma, more than I remembered. So it's like, is he fully recovered from that fight? Because that was, his corner should have pulled him after round two. It's just, I don't know why cornermen in the UFC don't pull their fighters. It's just crazy to me. You see it a lot in boxing. I don't know why it's not carried over to MMA. You know, if it's some kind of macho bullshit, it's just dumb. He had no chance in that fight. You know, just pull the kid out. What is the point in sending him out there for another round to take a beating? Just completely pointless. But yeah, nonetheless, the lines dropped a lot. When I was looking at Hooker, he was minus 150. He's minus 125 now, but I'm still not compelled to bet it either way, just because I just don't have a great read. I'm going to pick Hooker because I think he's the tougher guy. He's got the better chin. But honestly, I struggle to read Vick. I bet who's the Irish chap? I bet Joe Duffy over Vick as well, and that's another one where I was pretty confident, and Vick got the win. So yeah, I just don't have a read on it. In all honesty, Vick's got good boxing. Hooker's definitely improved his stand-up. He's not as hittable as he was. If you go back to like the Jason Knight fight, he does try and stay on the outside a bit more now, but he will step into land shots. He's got power. He's got really good knees, but very unlikely those stepping knees are going to be here for him because James Vick's so tall. but he did knock out Gilbert Burns with his hands, stepped in. They both kind of landed simultaneously. Hooker landed a left hook, Burns landed a right hand, but the left hook put Burns down. Really, really nice knockout. So yeah, I'll go Hooker, guys, but I can't recommend anything here because I struggle with my read on James Vick. I would not be shocked if he wins this fight, but I think he should move up to welterweight. Don't know why he's not done that yet. I know he struggles with a cut, so we'll go with Vick. I'll go with Hooker, but it's not confident. Like I said, no bet from me. Men's heavyweight, it's another one. Greg Hardy, Juan Adams. No clue. You guys know I don't like betting heavyweight, and I'm gonna make you laugh. Actually, next week there's a heavyweight fight. Probably shouldn't be saying this. There's probably only one heavyweight fight on the card, so I'm going to be giving it away. But I'm actually going to have a bet on a heavyweight fight next week. I can't remember the last time I bet on a heavyweight fight. I did think I was going to bet Rothwell pre-tape, but as I said earlier, the ploddiness just puts me off. But if the line drops, I'll take another look. But as I said, it's held. But yeah, Greg Hardy, Adams. I haven't got a clue. Hardy looked great last time, but the opponent was petrified. He just didn't want to be in there. Fight before that against Crowder, he didn't look so great. Adams, can he take a punch? We don't really know. He's got this wrestling background, but how good is it? I mean, I hear it's like a military wrestling or something. I mean, gassed last fight. I don't know. I'm not convinced how hard he hits for a heavyweight either. I didn't rewatch the Buller fight, but I know there was a bit of controversy that some people saying he should have won that Buller fight. Can he get Hardy down here and wear Hardy out? Oh man, I'm going to go with Greg Hardy. I'm just veering on the side of athletic beast, but it's going to get really interesting if Hardy can't get the early knockout here. But yeah, guys, it's a pass from me. I'm not betting it in any way, shape or form. Fight doesn't go the distance. It's crazy, like -500. Pass on that. I think whoever's betting it, I think it's a dark, guys. It's an even money line. You know, I hope the dice rolls your way. God, there is a big theme of untrustworthy fights here, isn't there? We've got Oleinik, Walt Harris. Really wanted to bet Walt Harris. He's -150. But I just don't trust the guy. Another one on this card where I just have trust issues. I've bet Walt Harris a few times in the past. It's not a guy that I haven't bet. I bet him last fight against Spivak. I bet him against Mark Godbeer the first time they were scheduled to fight. It actually got cancelled the day of the fight and they gave him Verdum instead. And I did bet him against Cyril Asker as well. So I'm actually 2-0 with one no contest betting Walt Harris. But look, Walt Harris will win on the feet here. There's no question about it. But Walt Harris is also 12-7 for a reason. There's I know one's a disqualification. And he had the win over Arlovski that was overturned, albeit a very close fight. You know, kind of I thought he should have put his stamp on that fight more. So I guess you could argue he's 13-6. But the guy loses fights, you know, he does fuck up. I have trust issues with Walt. Every fight he's won inside the distance. He's never won a decision. Oleinik is old. He's 42, he's got bad knees, but I remember everyone being on Mark Hunt when they fought, and I was like, no, there's no way. I nearly got suckered into betting Hunt, so I done tape, and after tape I was like, no, there's just something I don't trust here. Oleinik's a dog, man. Yeah, he's old, he's had a lot of fights, but I mean, I haven't rewatched the Overeem fight, but I bet on the inside the distance there. And I remember he took a bit of a beating off Reem. It took Reem a while to put him away. And if this guy hits one takedown on Walt, it could be over. Did not trust Walt on the ground at all. He looked terrible. I know it was Verdum, but he looked terrible on the mat against Verdum. Like, just way too easy. These two have trained together in the past. I read that Oleinik said that he's actually been given submission defense advice in the past against his own submissions. But I don't think he's going to prevent that Ezekiel choke if Oleinik goes for it. But I mean, Walt's got great physical attributes, but there's something missing with him. Kind of like what I said with Aldana. Just something hasn't clicked for him. Look, I'll go with Walt Harris here to win. But I'd not be shocked if Oleinik pulls this off. Not be shocked at all. What's Oleinik's submission? I don't think that's out yet. Oleinik inside the distance plus 160. Yeah, that's crap. Yeah, look, I don't blame you. Look, Walt is minus 150. He's not a big favourite. I don't blame people if they're betting Walt here, but personally, I would recommend not going kind of above a unit or a unit and a half if you want to get a unit's profit back. I think I'd cap it there because I don't trust him. Oleinik's had like 70 fights, real experienced guy. Got those long lumbering arms, but yeah, can he get walked down? That is the thing. I don't know, but I mean, we've seen Oleinik before put out wins that perhaps he shouldn't have. And like I said, Walt, I don't trust the guy. I really don't trust him. But he is tempting to bet. He is very tempting to bet. I am tempted, but I don't think I can. I think I'm just going to pass on him. I might regret it. If he comes out and starches Oleinik, I'm going to regret it. So if I do end up passing, I hope that it's a sweaty fight. If you're betting Walt, sorry guys, but I don't want to regret not betting him. But just something in my gut, like I had with a Mark Hunt fight, it's just telling me not to back Walt here. So I'm going to go with Walt to win in round 1, but could be dicey. Could be dicey. Don't go big. Main event, best fight of the card after probably, well, I'd say the 3 best fights on this card are Hernandez, Vick, and the main event, which is the best fight. Rafael dos Anjos taking on Leon Edwards, men's welterweight division. Excellent matchmaking here. Now, much like James Vick, who I struggle to get a read on, I have to apply that to Leon Edwards as well. There's not many fighters I struggle to get a read on, but there are 2 of them, and they're both unfortunately on the same card because it kind of inhibits my two potential bets for me because I don't like betting for or against them. Because with Leon, I've always underrated him, like with Vick, underrated Vick. I underrate Leon as well. I think the only fight I've ever bet against Leon was Albert Tumanov, and I don't think I've ever bet on Leon either. So, you know, in terms of, he hasn't cost me money. We did against Albert Tumanov, fight he was losing until he pulled out looked like Tumanov was going to win that fight, and then he pulled out the submission in late in round 3. But yeah, I just always I've avoided these fights because I've been conscious that I don't have a great read on him, and I kind of think he's going to lose and he wins. And I mean, he's a solid fighter, no 2 ways about it. He's 27 years of age, he's still improving, fights out of a southpaw stance, has a lovely body kick, which incidentally is going to be taken away here because RDA is a southpaw as well, so he is going to lose that. He's got a nice straight left, really nice rangy striking, albeit a little bit low volume. And for a UK guy, he's got decent wrestling. He's got a really nice exit elbow in the clinch. He's pretty hard to take down. He's got decent wrestling offence. I remember his fight with Usman. He made Usman work for that 3-round decision. It wasn't easy at all. Usman didn't dominate him. I think he even struggled for takedowns first half of the fight. Kind of started to get them as the fight wore on. But yeah, Leon's a solid guy. Coming off a good win over Gunnar Nelson. Won the first 2 rounds there. Ended up getting taken down towards the end of round 3 and mounted. And before that, won a 5-round fight over Donald Cerrone, albeit did lose the last 2 rounds. So just slight concerns about his cardio for me. He did drop the last 2 rounds to Donald, and Gunnar had him in spot above her the last couple of minutes of round 3. So is there a cardio concern there? We're going to find out for sure in this fight, because Dos Anjos doesn't gas. The guy can bring a high pace. He's good in the clinch as well. So the clinch battle here is going to be interesting. I think RDA can take him down. I think Leon's going to struggle to take RDA down. RDA had a real rough run when he moved up to welterweight. Like his first couple of fights, Magnian, Tariq Safadine, Raquel, and then he beat Robbie Lawler. Then these last 3 fights he's fought, kind of 3 of the best wrestlers in the UFC: Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman, and Kevin Lee. Lost to Colby and Usman. The Colby fight was pretty competitive. I think I scored it 3-2 to Colby. I think it came down to round 5, if memory serves me right. And Usman shut him down a bit easier. And then the Kevin Lee fight was pretty nip and tuck. I live betted RDA, I think, after round 1 at a plus number, and I think I got him again maybe at the end of round 2. I think he was a slight favourite by then. But yeah, his pace was just too much. Lee just couldn't keep that grindy pace going, and eventually ended up on his back and getting submitted. So RDA, he can go hard for 5 rounds. He's a tough guy. He's not easy to wrestle. The fight will be interesting at range. I am interested to see that. Edwards will have reach advantages, but he can just be a little bit low volume. And it will be interesting to see how Leon deals with a southpaw who can strike. RDA does have very solid calf kicks. I expect him to try and utilise them against Leon, try and compromise his movement. But I can see this fight being played out in the clinch a fair bit. As I said, Leon is good in the clinch, but so is RDA. He dropped Robbie with an elbow in the clinch, and he's basically spent his last 3 fights in the clinch against 3 of the best wrestlers in the UFC. So Leon's going to be a step down for him in terms of the clinch battle here, for me, in my opinion. I have to lean RDA here. I'm just scared of betting RDA because I don't want to be underestimating Leon. Like I said, I've underestimated Leon kind of a lot in the past, but this is a tough fight for him. This is a tough fight. I looked earlier; it looked like a little bit of money had come in on Leon. He's back at minus 130. RDA's plus 110. One thing I don't like is this is a quick turnaround for RDA. He literally fought. It's like a 2-month turnaround. So, the Kevin Lee fight wasn't tough in terms of physical damage, but he fought for nearly 4 rounds. I like a fighter to have a couple of weeks off, just rest the body up. Go back into camp loosely. It's just a quick turnaround for me. How much of a camp has he had? Because he must have had a little. I'm not sure when this fight got announced. I think it was about 5 weeks' notice. So. Yeah, but I guess Leon's in the same boat, but he's not just fought. I just like a fighter when they've just fought and been through a camp to have a little bit of a rest. I don't like them to kind of overtrain and get burned out. I've just got that in my mind here. It's a slight worry. But I have to favour RDA. I mean, he is the older guy. He's 34, but I mean, there's been no sign of a slowdown. He's lost 2 of his last 3, but they were very tough stylistic fights. But he's so well rounded. RDA. Like I said, I'm very interested to see how this plays at range. But Leon's best weapon is that body kick, and that is gone now, unless he can use the switch kick. But I don't have a great recollection of him hitting the switch kick. I can't remember if he's fought any southpaws before. But in the clinch, I mean, he is solid in the clinch. He's got that good exit elbow. But RDA's been mingling in the clinch with Usman and Colby, and a bit he lost them fights. He was very competitive, and I do think he can hit takedowns on Leon as well. We saw Leon get taken down in the first round by Gunner a couple of times. He couldn't get anything going. Gunner. Leon got back to his feet pretty quick, and then we saw him get taken down in round 3 and mounted. And I do have that slight question mark over Leon's cardio. Not saying he's a gasser, but just there is a bit of a pattern there. in that he slowed down the last 2 rounds against Cowboy, and he ends up mounted in round 3 by Gunner. And RDA, as I say, he can set that pace. So 5 rounds could pay dividends here. Leon could have a good start, and then we could see RDA take over. So I'm going to go with RDA to win a decision here. Very competitive fight. I think from a betting perspective, plus 110 on a proven war horse like RDA. I think there's some value there. It's not a max bet type for me, because as I say, my read on Leon, I'm really trying not to underestimate him here, but I do think this is a tough fight for him. So I'm going to pick RDA to win a decision. Leon minus 130. I just don't see the appeal of betting Leon at minus 130. I could understand if, swap the lines around. But I think RDA should probably be a bit of a favourite here. But I just don't like that he's had a quick turnaround. I don't know why. I just like, especially an older guy like RDA, especially when he's had, a succession of tough fights. I'd like him to have had a bit of rest. Leon's well rested, he's hungry, he's 27. He's going to be so up for this UFC main event. This is, if he wins this fight, throws him into the title picture. RDA, kind of where is RDA at in the division? He's not going to get a rematch with us when it was too one-sided. Leon's got that upside in that, he's hungry for that title shot. But I'm not saying that RDA's drive or anything's diminished. He looked fine against Kevin Lee, but just little things like that just to factor in. But I'm going to go RDA here to win a decision, but I'm very intrigued to see how this will play out at range, and even in the clinch, although I do favour RDA just based off kind of how well he'd done against people like Colby and Usman and Kevin Lee. And it'd be interesting to see Leon off his back here as well against RDA, who, let's not forget, the guy's a very good grappler. Submitted Neil Magny very quickly when he put him on his back. Got the submission in round 4 against Kevin Lee. This guy's a dangerous guy on top. And, remember what he done to Anthony Pettis, all them years ago. Just dominated him over 3 rounds with takedowns. 5 rounds with takedowns. And top control. So yeah, it's going to be interesting because we've not really seen Leon off his back a great deal. Could be tested here, and if he does start to slow down, it's going to be hard for him to get back to his feet. So I really think RDA is going to mix his game in here, and I think he's going to win a decision. So I'll go RDA to win a decision. I don't know if I'm betting it yet. I may hold off for live bet because I think Leon will have a strong round 1. Might get some good odds on RDA post round 1, but there's always the risk that doesn't happen and RDA starts strong and the line's crap and you don't end up getting to bet it, and you have that regretfulness of not betting someone. So I'm gonna have a think about it. But as I said, youth is against him and so forth, but there's been no signs of RDA slowing down, so I don't want to assume anything like that because he's looked fine. So I'll go with RDA to win the decision in what will be a very, very exciting fight. So that wraps up the card, guys. Good luck to those of you that are betting. Hope you cash those tickets. I'll be back next week for the next UFC card. ProMMABetting.com for betting packages. Pre-betting tips available. All of our bets are third-party tracked. Pre-bets and live bets. You can find the links on our website, and also I've got direct links to them below the video for this UFC prediction card. So everything's fully verified. Come and get the pre-bets, guys. There's probably only going to be 1 or 2 for this card, small card pre-betting, but we've got live betting from 7:30 UK time on Saturday. UFC follows straight after, so we're going to have about a 10-hour live betting marathon. The guys are up a ridiculous amount this year. As I said, all the live bets are third-party tracked. You can check them on the spreadsheet linked on our website. So it's free money, guys. So hope to have you on board. As I said, good luck with your bets, and I'll be back next week.